Please note that as of now, you can support the channel by becoming member using the join button under the video. Members can get access to special members-only badges, emojis, posts, polls, short videos and long-format videos. Thanks in advance. Now, let's play the video. There we are, 10 more questions for atheists, and I'm going to answer them. Fellow YouTuber Professor Plink already made a response video about this. I didn't watch his video yet, so that I'm not influenced by his take. And when I'm done with this video, of course I'm going to watch the Professor Plink rebuttal, because he makes awesome videos. But let's get to it. 10 more questions for atheists.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Faith Evolved, where I talk about all things spiritual, metaphysical, philosophical, and mental health. This is your host, Jay, and if it's your first time here, well, thank you for joining. And today, we have a video that's specifically targeted towards atheists. And I have 10 questions here for atheists. None of this Christianese-based, biblical-based questions. No, these are legit questions from a theist who doesn't subscribe to a specific religion or belief system, but clearly I do believe there is a higher power. And I'm trying to find out why you don't. As an atheist. Stay tuned.
Well, that was a pretty decent introduction, and you seem kind of like a nice guy, so okay, I'll give it a shot.
Question number 1. Are you sure that you can justify calling yourself an atheist?
Yeah, I'm very certain of that. I don't believe your claim that a God exists, therefore I'm an atheist. You'll have to take my word for it, that I don't believe your claim. And if you don't accept my word on that, then I will waste no more time on you. Okay, your first question is answered. That was easy.
Hear me out, okay? This sounds like a stupid question, and I promise no stupid questions, but at least by the rules of logical fallacies, is it true that the burden of proof is on the person trying to prove God's existence?
What is going on? Is that your second question?
You cannot prove a negative. Why are you not an agnostic instead? Someone who doesn't know either way. You know, and I get that atheism is the denial of the existence of a deity or deities. But I don't get the activism of some atheists who try to prove their point is correct when they cannot prove a negative. No one can ever prove to you that something doesn't exist.
Oh boy, I fear this is going totally wrong from the very beginning. Look, atheism does not have to prove anything, because it doesn't make any claims. And if you think that atheists in general are somehow busy trying to prove that gods do not exist, then you don't understand what atheism is. So, dictionary please.
You cannot presume to say that all data that could prove or rule out a deity exists. For this reason, atheism is in absolute sense impossible. So I say that right now, you could consider yourself an agnostic because you don't know, but to say you're an atheist means you have had access to all possible data available to the entire universe, and then said, yeah, there's no God.
Okay, so now we're sure. You don't understand what atheism is. Well, there we go again. Short crash course. Atheism only is not believing the claim that a God exists, which does not automatically imply believing that a God does not exist. Agnosticism is another category. It means not knowing if a God exists. So, I don't believe the God claim, but I don't know for sure if a God exists or not. That makes me an agnostic atheist. For me, it's a bit hard to believe that grown-ups who publish videos about atheism on YouTube don't understand what atheism is. YouTube is paved with thousands of videos that explain these concepts, and online dictionaries where you can find the meaning of these words are freely available at everyone's fingertips. But since you look like a nice guy, I will assume that you didn't mean to misrepresent atheism and that you just made a mistake. However, if you're planning on asking 10 questions to atheists, and the first question already shows that you don't understand what atheism is, then you make it very hard for me to keep listening to you. But for now, I will continue.
Just discovered, electricity, like how to harness electricity within the past 150 years or so. I mean, we're still a baby species. We're not even a 1 on the Kardashev scale. We haven't even gotten on any other planets to terraform them. We don't have full control of our solar system. We can't even cure the common cold. And yet we're so sure there's no God. That's really where I'm going with that.
Yeah, so this very often happens with internet theists. They build their plea upon a wrong premise from the very start, and then they go on and on making elaborations based upon that wrong premise, and that is pretty much a waste of time for everyone. So let's skip this one and go to the next question.
All right, so question number 2. How can intelligence come from non-intelligence?
Yeah, well, there we go again. This is explained so often, why do I even bother? But okay, you still look like a nice guy, so there we go. How can intelligence come from non-intelligence? Well, yet again, that question has got nothing to do with atheism. Atheism doesn't make any claims about the origin of intelligence, so the origin of intelligence is a question for everyone, but more specifically for biologists and biochemists. But I'll be a good sport and I will tell you what my point of view is on the origin of intelligence. Intelligence is just a brain function. The level of intelligence is related to factors like the size and the structure of the brains, and the size and the structure of the brains mostly depend on the composition of the DNA. The brain and therefore intelligence evolve over time, mostly based upon DNA mutations and natural selection. Because of evolution, we can see a great variety of intelligence among animals. A mosquito has a brain, but it's very small. It only has about 220,000 neurons. A human being has about 86 billion neurons. But what if we take some steps back and have a look at the brains of a roundworm? It only has 302 neurons. Is that a brain? Yeah, but it's the smallest brain in the animal kingdom. A roundworm brain can basically only censor changes in its direct environment. Is a roundworm intelligent? I don't think so. Let's take another step back. How about a jellyfish? It has a loose network of neurons that navigate basic bodily actions. Can we call that a brain? No, it's a nerve system. Is it intelligent? Not really. If we go another step back and we end up at sponges, they have no brain, no nerves, but their behavior is guided by chemical reactions in their cells. Are they intelligent? Not at all. All these different brain variations show that we can reverse engineer brains up to a point where they are just a bunch of neurons that don't produce any intelligence. So, yes, intelligence can come from non-intelligence. This actually is a very well established and documented scientific fact. So there you go.
Because we do have clear evidence that there's some design within the human body. I mean, look at the DNA code, for example. They even call it code. I mean, why is that not some kind of proof?
No. There's no shred of evidence that proves that the universe or DNA are designed. And some people preferring the word code to describe properties of DNA also proves nothing. But to make a long story short, intelligence can perfectly come from non-intelligence, because intelligence is a brain function and brains evolve.
So question number 3. If anything exists at all, wouldn't it have to have existed in some state or form for all eternity?
So, after 3 questions, my question is, will there be any of your 10 questions for atheists that is an actual question for atheists? Because again, this isn't. Things maybe or maybe not existing forever has got nothing specifically to do with atheism, and the answer to this question has no consequences for the atheistic position. It's a question for everyone, and the answer is we don't know if there is something that has existed forever. At best, we can entertain some philosophy on it, but other than that, we simply don't know.
And that leads to my 4th question, which is, and if so, why couldn't that anything be a source of consciousness where everything came from?
So again, a very typical mistake that theists often make. You asked your question number 3 and had a desired yet unproven answer for that question in mind. And then you base your next question, your question number 4, upon that desired yet unproven answer to your previous question. And the answer to your previous question was, we don't know. And that makes your 4th question totally irrelevant. And also, it has got nothing to do with atheism. So let's go to question 5.
So question number 5 is, what if the scientific method does not take everything into consideration, at least when it comes to proving something spiritual?
Okay, I'm really going to speed up the answers now, otherwise this is going to take me hours. We're halfway now, and 5 out of 10 of your atheist questions have got nothing to do with atheism, and a what-if question is mostly useless. What if Harry Potter exists? What if pigs can fly? What if Jesus was a rock star? What-if questions are irrelevant if not supported by convincing evidence. Why should we waste any time on that type of questions?
But, in my mind, the scientific method just might be flawed when it comes to things beyond what the scientific method could even possibly prove.
No, that's not a science problem. That is a problem with your question. If you suggest that something might exist beyond what science can prove, then what reason do you have to believe it exists in the first place? Do you have some secret alternative method to prove the existence of things? If that is the case, everyone would be interested to know what that method is, because for the past thousands of years, science has been the best method available to decide what is true and what is not true. Oh, and by the way, let me help you out. Let me give you some examples of actual questions for atheists. What is your position on the existence or non-existence of gods? Why don't you believe in the existence of gods? What do you think are the best and the worst arguments for the existence of gods? You know, questions that actually address the belief or non-belief in the existence or non-existence of gods. Okay, so let's move on to question number 6.
All right, so question number 6. Why couldn't God just be an advanced alien race?
Again, that question is pretty much irrelevant to atheism, and it's another what-if question that proves or demonstrates nothing. If you have reasons to believe that there is some advanced alien out there who does all kinds of magic stuff, just show us the evidence. If not, then let's move on to the next question.
But my question is, what would it take for you to believe that such a being or beings exist?
Well, I've heard that question many times before. What would it take me to believe in the existence of this or that God? And the answer is very simple. What would it take you to believe that, for example, vampires exist? What kind of evidence would you accept? Maybe that would be a good starting point for you to answer your own question. Would you accept an old book with stories about vampires? Would you accept eyewitness accounts of people who have seen vampires? Would you accept vampire miracles like unexplainable bleedings? You tell me what is convincing evidence for the existence of vampires. And if you found it, present that evidence to me, and then we can apply that type of evidence to your God.
All right, so question number 8. This one's kind of more for fun. I actually posed this question a few months ago on a video that I said. But anyway, this question is, what if an advanced alien race...
I'm not going to listen to the rest of the question because it has got nothing to do with atheism. Atheism is not believing in gods. Let's skip the aliens. They're not gods.
All right, so here's another personal question. This is question number 9. And does a part of you secretly hope that there's a God or that there's not a God? Like, this is not really a question that you have to like answer in the comments or something or whatever, but it's more of a question that I'd like you to think about, like really, honestly think about.
Well, no, that's a very easy question. No, I have no need for any God whatsoever. I'm just fine without a God, and I can especially do without gods who are horrible characters, like for example the God of the Bible.
Last but not least, question number 10 is my favorite question of all, and it is, how can you know for sure that I don't know God?
That's also a very easy question. The answer is, I don't know that for sure. But that question is totally irrelevant as long as you don't prove that a God exists. You see, the list of unproven beings is endless. Vampires, fairies, dragons, wizards, trolls, etc. And I'm not interested in spending time on making sure that vampires, fairies, dragons, wizards and trolls don't exist. And with gods, it's exactly the same. Would you spend time on making sure that vampires, fairies, dragons, wizards, trolls don't exist? I guess you wouldn't. And the reason why you don't do that is the exact same reason why I don't waste time on unproven gods. But if you claim that a god exists, then show us the evidence, and that would be the starting point for a conversation. Okay, I do appreciate your effort, but I must be very critical, because you make the same mistakes that most other internet theists make as well when they propose questions for atheists. Most of these questions simply have got little or nothing to do with atheism. Some questions are uninformed, some are very easy to answer, so nowhere did I get the feeling that you presented an actual challenging question that would somehow bring the atheist position in trouble, and that is what we atheists are looking for. Please present us a question that makes us atheists think, oh wow, that's a real question that could potentially shake up atheism. So keep trying. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching.